Hi, if you are seeing this, I'm not live anymore, but welcome anyway. Just gonna wait for it to get live to explain what I'm doing. And there it is. Hello. So I'm not gonna leave the camera on me. Whoops. Um, but I thought I would start here and say hi. So, need to wind some bobbins. You'd think, knowing that I was going live in a little bit of time, that I would have time to do all this. Okay, so ah, we're gonna make some Tuesday totes. Tuesday totes are a basic tote, but is the lighting okay? It looks really weird. If I turn that off, does it help? No. Hmm, what if I turn that off? That helps. Oh well. It's I don't know how to make it stop. Well, here's the thing. Let me just turn the camera so that I don't have to keep telling you. I'm going to turn the camera. I was going to do this and this and there. That's better, yes? Okay, good. So these totes have top and a bottom, and Dee Dee, you already have one because you snagged one while you were here, one that I was goofed up. So it has top, bottom, has interior, and it has a zipper pocket. That's it. It's very, very basic. Um, I have a couple cut out. I don't know how much I'll get done tonight, but I have a show that I'm supposed to do this weekend, and it's just nice to have some new ones. Um, so it has two straps here. You can see that. And inside, zipper pocket. And so this is a pattern called Tuesday Tote, and it's by Knotted Threads Co. I put a link down in the description. Uh, Down there, yeah. Um, it's very, very basic, and she has two different styles. She has this one where it's top and bottom, and she also has some that go, they have a middle section and then three sections. Anyway, and then she has an add-on called the weekend add-on. It's like, this is supposed to be so easy, you can make it on a Tuesday, which it happens to be Tuesday, so that's great. Um, but the weekend has all kinds of additions, zipper pockets, interior zipper pockets, interior, the dividing zipper pocket. I did make one with most of those. Um, it was great, but sometimes I just want to make a simple tote. So I need, oh, am I frozen? Frozen? Okay. Looks like I'm back. Sorry. Um, hmm. Okay, zipper pocket on the inside for 2 reasons. I can't have a tote without a zipper. It just seems like it's not a real tote without somewhere to stick something, even if it's just like a key or a key fob, tissue, womanly stuff that I don't want at the bottom of the purse. Anyway, and the other thing is that the uh, the interior of the bag is s- uh, it's just the interior of the bag, and if you don't have a zipper pocket, then you actually have to leave a hole and then sew that up after you turn it right side out, and therefore you have that little bead of a seam at the bottom of your bag, which I know is not a big deal, but if I can avoid that, I really try to. Anywho, um, so I'm going to set this over here. I'm gonna fill up some bobbins here. I apologize for not getting this done before. Hey, can you hear me okay? I have my microphone hooked up, but it has some different volume settings, but I I can't hear myself, so I just have you. Good, good. I realize it may not take 2 bobbins. It might not take more than 1, but I really hate to have to stop in the middle of something just to fill up another bobbin. So, Okay, and I don't know if I mentioned, but let's see. This fabric, I sublimated this, so it has, oh, I think I did it different. Usually I do a layer of Woven Fuse 2 and then a layer of Decaville Light, but Decaville Light has been hard to get a hold of these days. And even though I have some, I also have this, oh goodness, I don't know what it's called. It's from Barb's Interfacing, gotinterfacing.com. And she advertises it as a in between Decaville Light and Decaville Heavy. So I tried it on these without the Woven Fuse 2. So I just put this layer, this one layer on, and it turned out pretty good. I think it's a good feeling. This is a faux real from Tulip Bee, and then the inside is the OtterTex waterproof canvas from Fabric Wholesale Direct. So easy peasy. We're just gonna get these lined up. I just looked at the pattern, this Tuesday Tote pattern, because I want to put a link in there. She has it for $4. So if anybody wants any of these simple measurements, so you don't have to think, I think $4 is worth it. And the zipper pocket that I'm putting in is not the same dimensions that she has in her pattern, so I will give you those. And then I'm going to open it up, keep the seam going towards the bottom, the seam allowance going towards the bottom. And I'm going to top stitch here, add a little bit bigger stitch length. I just heard my husband get on one of the streaming channels. I don't think my boys know what it means to stay off the internet for a little bit. Oh well, we'll see how it does. Okay, so here I'm going to look at these and decide which one I think should be the front of the bag. And they look pretty much the same to me. So I'm going to mark the center and install my tag. I'm just going to move this out of the way for the moment. And in my notes, I have that the tag goes good at, let's see, 4.5 inches from the bottom. So this is a metallic pen that comes off of vinyl really easy. And the markings I'm doing are going to be different for everybody's tags. In fact, I messed up a couple tags or placements when I first got my labels because I couldn't figure out what to put where to put the holes. So I did some practice after that. It is a cute print. It's interesting. Cats and books seem to be really popular right now in the digital world, aside from all of the obvious Disney stuff. Which way did I go? That way. And but I'm good with cats and books. All right. I did some moving around, and where's my little blade? No blades, no bows, leave your weapons here. Where? Huh. I just had it. Come on. Well, that is so not cool. Oh, I found it. It was hiding. think it looks pretty good. So I'm going to put my little piece of foam here so I can turn around and get this good and cinched down. Just an extra little piece of Hicks-Twilight. Sorry. I'm trying to like move it way up here so you can see it. There's just no perfect spot for the camera, I'm telling you. I have actually, if I could set it like right where my other desk is here, that would probably work best. But of course, there's a desk there. Can't see it all. Sorry. It's pretty basic. The prongs come through from this side. I put an extra piece of Hicks-Twilight down with the same holes. Then I put the washer and the prongs get folded in. And now I'm going to put a piece of this duct tape over that so that it won't rub any holes or get caught on anything inside the bag. No supervisor at the moment. It's pretty decent out, so he's probably out chasing mice, getting some dinner. All right, so then the last thing to do on this before I move to the inside is to add my add the straps to the top. And in the pattern, there's a little blurb on the actual measurement in from each side, just to know where to set it. And, yep. Okay, those are marked out here. I'm going to grab my other piece here and mark it also. And the most important thing to remember about this marking is that the edge of the handle, the webbing, goes on the inside, and come on, the inside of the marking, not outside. And where is that? And they get clipped going up with an overhang of about 1/2 inch. So me being perfectionist, and since I've got this ruler right here, I make it exact. And make sure there's no twist. And same thing over here. And then I'm just going to baste these on. But I have to tell you, I have made many of these bags. I know that I'm supposed to attach it to the inside of that mark, but about every third or fourth bag, I sew it or I baste it down to the other side. It just happens. Keeps you humble. Keeps me humble. But it happens to everybody, so. Uh-oh. Who's your supervisor? Is that the dog or cat or your husband? Oh, that's me. Well, if he's up where the phone is trying to take it out, I'm guessing that's the kitty too. Right. Okay. There's the back and the front. And those are, well, not done yet because I'm going to sew them together. Yes, but first, I'm going to take out the little corners here. And let's see. I think I'm going to do that here. And again, the measurement is in the really reasonably priced pattern for these corners. And I have little pieces that I can use for, I don't know, something else. They will get saved because they're pretty. Zipper tabs. Maybe that's what I'll do. Zipper tabs. So this is for boxing the corners on the bottom. And I would show you me cutting them out, but I put in big bold print on my little ruler thing the dimensions. Okay, 4 little squares taken out of the corners. I'm going to do the same thing on the lining later. I want to get this. So here we're going to put them right sides together. Going to clip both sides and the bottom and sew it all up. Walter the cat. Walter, that's cute. These connected parts right here where you're changing from the top to the bottom, that's really the only part that is super important that they match. Oops. All right, and the same seam allowance that they used everywhere else. I think I got the other strap hanging out down here. There we go. Okay, and you can clip these threads or you don't have to, but I'm now going to pull these all that out and match these up. Actually, I think before I do that, I think I'm going to trim these somewhat. So I'm not going to trim right up next to the edges here. I'm not going to trim right up next to this edge, but everywhere in between, I'm going to trim. So I left a little there. I'm going to do the same thing right here. And you'll see why in a moment. So the trimming is to reduce the bulk inside the bag because you're going to have exterior and interior seams hanging out on the sides. Okay, so now we go back to do this corner like this. But I like to fold these down and line them up. And that's really hard to do if you cut these the same length as these little guys. So one corner, and do the same thing over here. All right, and same seam allowance. So that's what it looks like. And I'll trim this. And then I'm actually going to take, since that's the final stitch on this part of the bag, I'll take my cinch up these little threads. Okay, the other side. going to turn it right side out before I start working on the lining. Looks like I may need to iron this out a little bit. That's not uncommon. Okay, looking so cute. Isn't that cute? Oh man. Looks like I forgot to trim a few threads in here. Very cute. Okay, set that aside. Okay. So this is the inside. I know it looks square, it actually isn't. And I don't like to mess up. So I usually look at my notes here, figure out, okay, which one is wide? The smaller of the two. That's the longer one. Okay. The smaller is wide. So I'm going to cut my little corner pieces here, the bottom, so that I don't mistakenly turn those around while I'm working on that. And there's a million ways to cut this out. You can trace the little square and then cut it, cut a rotary, but I like to put both pieces cinched together and then I rotary cut my square out. This is the same dimensions as the top or the outside fabric, but because it's inside, you're going to sew with a little bit bigger seam allowance. So by the time it sits inside your bag, it's not competing for the edges. So whatever the seam allowance is, move it up to the next 1/8 inch when you're stitching your linings together. Hope that makes sense. For instance, if your seam allowance was 1/2 inch, which is actually 4/8, then you would move it up to 5/8, but not all the way. You want to sew the top, the same seam allowance, and then you come down about 1 inch and sew the bigger seam allowance the rest of the way. Because that top is going to match up with the outside and you want them to match. Okay, those corners are cut out. Oh goodness. I put that stupid thing on the camera anyway. All right, we're only going to deal with one side of the inside for a zipper. And I have some SF101 type interfacing on this because this is a batik. So it's a cotton, lightweight cotton. I'm going to take the back side. Where's my notes? I'll draw. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line 3/4 of an inch from the edge of the fabric, which you can't see. Okay, yeah, there we go. Oh, these pieces are 7 wide by 9.5 wide by 7. Yeah, yeah. This is 9.5 by 7. The zipper is also 9.5. But we're going to make a hole that's only 7.5 wide because it's going to come in an inch from either side. So this top line is 3/4 inch from the top edge, and then this is a number 5 zipper, so we need to give it a 1/2 inch. So go down an extra 1/2 inch from that line. There we go. Draw another line. And then this is where we take that extra inch off the edges. An inch and an inch. Okay. And mark the center here on the top of this. I'm going to set the second piece aside also. And I'm going to mark the center of this guy. All right. So I'm trying to get this in the picture. So this is the piece. These are the bottom. So from the top, we are going to set the pocket. I say 2.5 inches. I just want to make sure 2.5 inches from the top of the pocket. Yeah, I think that looks right. So 2.5 inches down, I line up those middle and line up the whole piece. So it's good that it's a straight line that's parallel to the top edge. And now I'm going to tape this down with some paper tape. Paper tape. And one right across the top here. And so now I'm just going to stitch around this rectangle with a tiny, tiny stitch. Tiny meaning just a lot smaller than what we normally stitch with. So I normally sew with about 4.5, and I'm going to go down to just below 4, which is pretty small on my machine. I'm going to get into that corner, pull this, have this going in the next stitch position as it goes up. Flip it, start it going up. Sometimes it works. Trying to get it to turn that corner without taking some of the corner with it. Sometimes it'll get tight enough that it will cut off some of that corner. Makes it pretty hard to cut into the corner when you got stitches hanging over the edge. All right. And in case I didn't mention it, this is right sides together. We had the right side of the pocket against the right side of the one of the interior panels. So now I can take this tape off. I just wanted it there to hold this straight so that the pocket ends up being straight. Okay, so now I'm going to cut that. I'm going to cut a line down the middle, and at each end I'm going to go up into the corners. Here I'll go up into that corner and that corner as close as I can to the corner without cutting a stitch. And again, I have cut those stitches, and it's quite a pain. Usually I just stick it back under the sewing machine and try and regain that corner of stitching. Turn on my iron here real quick. Okay, so now we're going to shove it all through to the back and try and get these seams to be as open as possible. So we can fold them like this. Okay. So from the back side, looks like this. And I am going to see this bunching up here. That's because I couldn't get into the corners because it was so tight. It's okay. You don't hardly notice this. It's inside the bag, and this is also the back side. This is not the side we see. So I'm going to go over to the iron. I don't want to iron on this. That would be bad. This is that the layer of the waterproof canvas that we. So I'm going to put a matte Teflon sheet right here. I'm going to iron just this little section, and then I'm going to put a wood block on it to try and get it to cool in the flat mode. So give me just a moment. I have my iron on medium also. Even though the batik fabric can take the high heat, this waterproof canvas cannot. So I'm not going off of that batik. These little wood blocks are Passover from Passover. Oops, that's my Teflon sheet. Don't need that. Crossover. That's what I'm looking for. From quilting. I use that a lot when you're trying to make seams with lots of pieces coming together flat. You iron it really good, and then you put a wood block on it. And then as it's cooling, it cools in that extra flat state. It's pretty amazing. I don't know how it works so well, but it does. Okay, we're going to mess with the zipper here while we're waiting for that to cool. Goodness, I need this. Maybe down here. Yeah, okay. I'm going to put a little bead of double-sided tape on each side of this before I put the pull on. And I'm using this 1/8 inch stuff, which is getting pretty low, but I've got another one waiting in the drawer. Just waiting to get out here. So this bag definitely would go a lot quicker if we didn't do the zipper. So that's just something that you can decide if you make this bag, if it's worth the extra time. Again, I have trouble selling a bag without a zipper in it. Now, a little beauty bag is one thing, but it's a tote bag. Even if you're going to go to the beach anywhere, I guess I've just always needed something for things I didn't want in the bottom of my purse or bag. So I can't sell a bag to somebody without one. Okay, now I'm going to put the zipper pull on, which I put over here in a very important spot. Here we go again. I'm going to pull these apart like this. Put one side on. Stick the other side in. Kind of have to separate these so they can go in at a bit of an angle. Nope. It's a little give and go. There. Look at that. Okay. When I go to put this in the bag, I want them to open from the left to right. And this one is heading left. When it gets there, it's going to open to the right. So I want it going this way in my bag. Okay, now you can hardly see that because putting that block on it made it flatter. That's just amazing. Okay, before it all falls apart, we're gonna take off this tape. Or sorry, take off the, uncover the tape. I don't know how you say it. And because this is at the top, I think I'm going to turn everything around and do it this. Try to line up the edges of this with the zipper. And this double-sided tape will hold really good for small periods of time, but it also lets you pull up and say, no, I don't like that. It's meant to hold it down until you sew it on. Different angles give you different views. All right. And so I'm going to start here. This thread is going to match, so I'm just going to back stitch here. I'm not going to do any fancy pulling it to the back, and stitch all the way around like that. A little bit bigger stitch than the little mini stitch. More like just a regular stitch length. Make sure that pole stays out of the way. You do not want to try and sew over that. All right. Zipper. Pull to the left. Open. Oh, there's nothing back there. So now we're going to put the other piece here, but I'm going to trim this up a little bit first so it's not hanging over. I'm going to put this. It's not right on the edge. All right, so the other thing is, since we are going to, we're going to pull the bag through this. We're not going to stitch the bottom. So I'm actually going to go over to the iron again. I'm going to iron this up about 1/4 of an inch and iron this underneath about 1/4 of an inch so that they line up like that. So I'm going to clip the rest of it down before I do that so that when I sew it together, it will still be lining up there on the bottom. So I don't know if that made sense, but we're going to pull the whole bag through this zipper opening so that we don't have to leave the bottom of the lining open, because I don't like that. And this is very typical for handbags and totes and purses that we leave a pocket open to turn it through. So again, I'm going to go over the iron. I'm going to iron that up and this down so that they match and are, yeah. Okay. And this would be way easier to do after stitching it, but we need it in that position when we stitch it. And I'll show you that. I have tried many ways on these bottom of pockets because you don't want a big old bulky thing in the bottom of your pocket either. And I don't remember who. I think it was in a pattern like this. And I think it works the best. Yep. Uh-oh, I think I hear my supervisor clawing the carpet. Because why use a claw toy when you have a carpet? Okay. So ironed together, and I'm going to go at an angle here and then go up a 1/4 inch all the way around, come back down, and right before the end I'm going to come back over at an angle, and that will make it easier to close up inside your pocket and not have so much bulk. But in order to do this, I'm going to flip it this way and fold this back. Now I'm going to start here. And this top seam, it doesn't really matter where, oftentimes the top piece here that's actually the one that you sewed into here, it gets sucked in. So you just want to make the seam catch both layers. And you only need to be right above this zipper line. So the seam allowance is not important on the top. Rufus. Yep, I hear him. He's clawing the carpet. Okay, so see the angle there and there. So I'm going to ahead and clip these corners a little bit, again, to reduce the bulk inside the pocket so that it looks more like I'm following that line. All right, so that side is done. This side has nothing to do, so we're now going to clip them together, sew all the seams. See how fast this is? I know. Would have been way faster without the zipper pocket, but it's important. Yeah, the cat still hasn't jumped up in his chair. I don't think he likes to jump up there unless he's ready to go to sleep. I'm surprised he hasn't jumped up on my table here and interrupted my sewing. He likes to interrupt my cutting more than my sewing. Yeah, I'll show you. I was cutting out something yesterday, and I had been cutting on this fabric for a while, but I had to get a big piece, so I spread it out good. And then he jumped up and decided that was a good place to lay. So I had to pause cutting. Oh, thanks. Okay. Again, I'm going to sew right along here for about an inch at the same seam allowance as the outer side. And then I'm going to move in 1/8 of an inch and do the rest of the bag at that extra big seam allowance. And then about an inch back, I'm going to come back and do the smaller seam allowance right there. Hope that makes sense. Bigger seam allowance makes for a smaller finished bag because really you're doing an inside bag. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Do the same seam allowance and then make it bigger here. And when you get to the other side, yeah, so it's a little bit same thing, but it took longer. And then I'm going to trim just like I did the exterior. I'm going to leave the edges untouched and then trim and leave the edge. corners, same thing. Pull it together, open the seams, and we're going to sew this at the larger seam allowance, just like the rest of most of the interior. Okay. Does now look lovely. So now we're going to put the outside in the inside. And I want the zipper to be in the back of the bag. So I'm going to put this side this way. Oh, don't forget to mark your middles. Ugh. Almost every single time I forget to mark my middles. Centers, not middles. Oh, goodness. Middles. That's funny. And that one's already marked because I did the zipper. These ones are not marked. And actually, this is still a little wrinkly from turning it, so I'm going to give it a little pat down with the iron over here. It's still hot. It's really not noticeable, but I feel bitter. Huh. Okay. Now I can mark my centers. Okay. Now we put it inside with the back to the pocket. Right side, and you want to make sure your zipper is open. Put your straps in there. And lots of squishing, smushing. Get your seams matched up. I'm going to sew this from the inside, so I'm going to put my clips on that way. Push down this side. I'm going to go for the center marks. And this is where, if these seam allowances had been different at the top, the distance around would be different. That's why it's important to make sure that even if you sew it at a bigger seam allowance so it's tighter, that you come back to the normal one at the top. I've made quite a few bags, and I have to say, these ones, I don't know why, but they're so satisfying. Maybe it's because it just doesn't take very long to make. And you realistically can go pick up fabrics for another one because you've got time. Okay, regular seam allowance. And back stitch at the beginning and the end. I'm just going to clip my beginning threads. They're really in the way. I believe, the pockets on the back. At least that was the plan. But plans change sometimes. Whoa. When you get something all sewn up and you're like, oh, whoa, that's not what I meant to do. Okay. Top is stitched. Now we pull it all through this hole that is open. Just go grab something and start pulling and pushing. Pushing works amazingly a lot better than pulling, but pulling is still needed sometimes. Did I do the pocket wrong on yours? The coloring on my camera makes this look like a really bright aqua, but it is a periwinkle, a little darker than the bag one, but in the camera it looks very different. Come on, those corners out. Okay. So, so give it just a little pull here to get the seams to separate. Not separate, but we're gonna fold this down, and you want them one on one side and one on the other. So the more you can get this to pull away, the better. All right, and we put it inside. Yay, I did it right. Pockets on the back. That waterproof canvas, it's kind of stiff stuff, which makes it nice for these bags. Gives it some structure, but it doesn't like to be told what to do sometimes. Okay. So now we go around and finesse these so that they are not on the same side. Yes, the floppy ones have their place, but it is so nice to dig into a bag that it's not falling in on you at the same time. And then I like to go throw in some extra clips because even though everything is sitting nicely and folded right now, once I start stitching, I'm smushing the bag all every which way, and more clips in place to keep it where it should be, the better. All right. And here comes the fun part. Top stitching in the round. So I fold in this thing, shove it under here, and I usually start on the front, right towards the seam over here, because you still don't see it very much from the front, but if you start in the back, on the inside, you see your back stitch. So I have found that on the front, right here next to the seam, is a good place to start. And this takes some finagling, so you just start and keep moving, keep breathing. I am going to get this guy out. I'm also going to get my little fabric here for jumping or lifting up my plate or foot if it need be. Like this is pretty tall seam. Starting right next to a seam may not be the the easiest place to start, but if you can do it, like I said, it hides some of those start and stop seams. My cat just made a funny noise over there. I don't know what he did, but it sounded like he fell off of something. Sleeping. I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna singe any threads that might be hanging out past their allotted spot. Okay. Again, I could use a good iron on the top right here, but there we go. Isn't that cute? Okay, last step is to finish up that zipper pocket that's hanging out in here without a bottom. So when you pull it out, the corners come in a little bit because of that, because of how we sewed that seam at the bottom. So we're just going to pull everything tight, clip it up, and get a good seam as close to the edge as possible. You don't want a big old seam in the bottom of your pocket, but you also don't want it to come apart. Thank you, thank you. So this did take a little longer than I expected. I have such a warped sense of how long things take. I have 2 more cut out, so I'll show you those before I end this lovely. Hey, I'm letting you off so you can go to bed on time. Okay. I'm going to bring this down to a regular stitch length again. And this is going to be inside a pocket, which you will most likely never see. So making sure that it's actually closed up is more important than being pretty. So when you get done, you're going to flip it over and make sure you got both pieces of fabric. That's very, very important. And singe up any of these threads so they can't unravel. Okay, now it's done. Shove it back in there. Yep, it just fits so much nicer in the bottom of that pocket. Oh, I like it so much. I love these books. They're so pretty. All right. So let me grab those other fabrics I have just to show you. So got some ladybugs with this for the bottom. But look at these ladybugs. Look at the back with all the flowers. Isn't that pretty? I think they're so cute. That. And just so happens the other one is books too. Oh man, this one's so gorgeous. And I have this green, kind of a teal metallic. Isn't that pretty? So I will be sewing these up after I go put in a new drum and toner for our printer downstairs. Did I move my camera? So, which one? The this one, the dark green teal one, or the pastel books? Yes, all three of these are sublimated. I really do have lots of fabrics. I just have so much fun sublimating because I can now, with the same print, I can put this on a mouse pad. I can put it on I can put it on a little coaster. Looks like a mini mouse pad. I can put it on, oh, here. Have some, this is a different print, but I can put it on a bookmark. It's a metal bookmark, but cool. I can put it on this book type of bookmark. This is a magnet one that flips over your page. I can put it on, let's see, what else can I put on? I can put it on a tumbler. Yeah, so many options. And obviously I can put it on fabric. Yep. All right, well, I'm gonna skedaddle. If you happen to be watching this and you are not subscribed, I would be very grateful if you would subscribe. And I will continue to add more tutorials and some live sewing because live sewing is fun and I get more done. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night and I'll talk to you later. Oops, gotta find my mouse. Oh, well, I'm going now anyway. Good night.